apparently your memory is like a cat. Call it, and it just stares at you. Ignore it completely, and suddenly it's in your lap at 3 a.m.
Well, actually... Right now, you're reaching for a name that will not come. You know this person. You know their face completely, the way they laugh, the show they were in, the exact scene. You can see the shape of the word. You're almost certain it starts with a B, or maybe a P, and it's got 3 syllables, and it sounds a little like another name that keeps shoving its way to the front and blocking the door. You strain. You squeeze your eyes shut. You mouth the alphabet. It's right there, hovering just past the edge of your reach, close enough to touch and impossible to grab. And the harder you pull, the further it slides away. Then you give up. You let it go. You start washing the dishes, or you drift towards sleep, thinking of nothing at all. And then, out of nowhere, quietly, the name simply arrives. So let's watch it happen. Most people think remembering is like pulling a book off a shelf. You know it's up there, you just have to reach in and grab it. And if you grab harder, you'll get it faster. Well, actually, it's almost the exact opposite. The reaching itself is what jams the shelf. The word isn't lost. It's fully intact, sitting right where it belongs. And your desperate grabbing is precisely the thing keeping your hand from closing around it. To find it, you have to stop looking. Her name is the first clue, and the man who chased it first was Roger Brown at Harvard in 1966, working with a student named David McNeil. They wanted to capture that maddening, almost there feeling in the lab, so they read people the definitions of rare words, sextant, sampan, nepotism, and watched them squirm on the edge of recall. And here's the strange part. Even when people absolutely could not produce the word, they were not empty. They knew things about it. They could tell you the first letter, better than chance. They could tell you how many syllables it had. They could tell you where the stress fell. Brown and McNeil proved that the word wasn't gone at all. You were holding most of it. You just couldn't get the last piece to snap into place. So why does it stay stuck? Meet the Ugly Sisters. In 1984, the British psychologists James Reason and Deborah Lucas gave that jamming feeling a perfect name. When you're hunting for a word, a different wrong word often barges in and refuses to leave. You're trying to remember an actor, and the wrong actor keeps appearing, standing in the doorway, insisting he's the one. Reason and Lucas named these interlopers after the ugly sisters in Cinderella. The loud, pushy relatives who keep blocking the door so the prince can never reach the girl he's actually looking for. And the cruel trick is that the more you repeat the wrong name, the louder and stronger it gets, until it drowns out the quiet, correct one entirely. Which raises the real question. If the word is right there, why can't you transmit it? In 1991, a psychologist named Deborah Burke at Pomona College offered the deepest answer. She proposed the transmission deficit model. Think of your memory as a vast web of nodes connected by threads. The meaning of the word, everything you know about the person, lights up instantly and completely. But the sound of the word, the actual syllables your mouth needs to say it, lives at the far end of a thinner set of threads. When those threads are weak, from age, from disuse, from not having said the word in years, that the activation leaks out before it arrives. You have the whole idea. You just can't push enough current down the wire to make the sound light up. And this is exactly why names are the cruelest case of all. In 1987, 4 British researchers, McWhinney, Young, Hay, and Ellis, ran a study built around a puzzle now known as the Baker-Baker paradox. They showed people faces and attached a single word to each one. For some faces, the word was a job. This man is a baker. For other faces, the very same word was a surname. This man is Mr. Baker. Identical sounds. And yet, again and again, people could remember that a face was a baker far more easily than they could remember that a face was named Baker. Think about why. Told that a man bakes, your mind floods with bread and flour and warm ovens and early mornings, a dozen handholds that all lead back to the word. Told only that his name is Baker, you get nothing. A name is an arbitrary tag, bolted onto a person for no reason you can see, with nothing to hook it to. That is why the name you are chasing this very moment is stranded at the end of the thinnest, loneliest wire in your entire head. Now here is where letting go becomes the answer. In 1991, two researchers, Stephen Smith and Stephen Blankenship, studied what happens when you step away from a problem you're stuck on. They called it incubation. When you fixate on something, when you keep hammering the same wrong approach, that mental block doesn't just sit still. It actively strengthens. The wrong path you keep walking gets worn deeper. But when you stop, when you leave the room and do something else, the block starts to fade on its own. The ugly sister loses her grip. And in that loosening, the faint threads to the real word are finally free to warm up. You didn't solve it by pushing harder. You solved it by stopping, so the block could dissolve. But if you don't step away, something worse happens. In 2008, a psychologist named Karen Humphreys at McMaster University ran a beautiful and slightly horrifying experiment with her colleague Amy Warner. She put people into that tip of the tongue state, then let some of them stew in it for 30 agonizing seconds before revealing the answer. 2 days later, she tested the same words again. And the people who had struggled the longest were the most likely to get stuck on the exact same word all over again. Humphreys called it incorrect practice time. All those seconds of straining weren't helping you learn the right answer. You were rehearsing the failure. You were carving the dead end deeper into your brain, teaching yourself over and over precisely how to get lost. So put it together, and you can see the whole cruel machine. The word is complete and waiting, but your straining feeds the ugly sisters, and the ugly sisters block the door, and every extra second of effort strengthens the wrong path instead of the right one. You are not searching, you are digging yourself in. The very act of trying is building the wall between you and the thing you want. And then you let go, and the answer arrives while you're rinsing a plate. Why? Because retrieval was never something you did on purpose in the first place. Underneath your awareness, activation is always spreading softly through that web of nodes, threads warming and cooling, one idea gently nudging the next. When you stop straining, you take your loud, clumsy conscious hand off the machine, and the quiet automatic process finally has room to work. The answer doesn't come because you finally forced it. It comes because you finally stopped forcing, and the block you built with your own effort quietly melted away. Psychologists even have a name for these little gifts when they finally surface. They call them mind pops, small fragments of memory, a word, a face, a bar of an old song that leap into your awareness from nowhere, unbidden and whole. When researchers had people keep diaries of them, most of us turned out to get them regularly, and they arrive almost only in the idle moments, in the shower, on a walk, drifting towards sleep, while you were doing something that asks nothing of your attention. The best explanation is that the thing you strained for never actually stopped simmering. It stayed lit, quietly primed at a low glow at the back of your mind, waiting for the noise up front to finally die down. So the name did not return by luck. It returned the exact instant your mind went quiet enough to let it through. And here's the strange thing. This tells you about who you are. The part of you that so desperately wanted the name, the part that squeezed and strained and mouthed the alphabet, was never the part that actually knew it. The knowing happened somewhere you can't reach, in the dark, on its own schedule, indifferent to your urgency. You are not the one who remembers. You are only the one who waits to be told. Most of the mind that makes you is running quietly below the floor. And the anxious, effortful you standing in the light is more like a visitor knocking, hoping someone downstairs will answer. And the moment you stop pounding on the door, someone finally does. So that name you started with, the one hovering just past the edge of your reach, it didn't come because you tried harder, and it didn't come because you deserved it. It came the instant you turned away, when you let your hand fall open and thought about the dishes and the warm water instead. It was there the whole time, waiting patiently on the far side of your own effort, for you to finally stop reaching so it could quietly reach you. And now at last, you've watched it happen.